Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Visiting Professionals. I'm your host, Austin Slabough, and today we are visiting with the largest sound effects producer in the world, Ric Viers.
Let's make some noise.
Let's do it.
Hi, my name is Austin Slabough. I'm a student at Open University. Most of my time is spent on campus in class. But when I'm not hitting the books, I'm visiting professionals. Today on Visiting Professionals, I made my way to the Detroit Chop Shop. I'm meeting with one of the largest sound effects producers in the world, Ric Viers. Ric has kindly invited myself and the Visiting Professionals crew to spend the afternoon with him learning about sound effect design.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Austin.
Hey, I'm Rick. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the Detroit Chop Shop.
Thanks for having me here, man. I'm pretty pumped up to learn about some sound.
Well, you're in luck because I make noise.
Sweet.
Let me give you a tour.
Yeah, let's do it.
So these are some of my first sound effect libraries I ever produced. In fact, this one is my first sound effects library called Impact Effects. What's funny about this library is it's the first library that I ever made, and I still hear these sound effects to this day. Some of the sounds have been featured in Sons of Anarchy and in Halo and different TV shows and stuff like that. So every now and then I'll hear a sound from there. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're still using these sound effects. So this is the equipment room. And this is the infamous whiteboard that we use with the interns to write down everything we would want, all the sound effects that we're looking to include in a collection. And then we use this list when we go out in the field and record and design our sound effects. Okay. So we've got everything like for this collection we were looking for, we've got grandfather clocks and electric chairs and cauldrons and fire. And
Now, let me cut you off here real quick. You're talking about fire, and this is what's really catching my eye out. Tell me what happened with that.
This is a blimp. Well, this is what happens when you put a blimp too close to fire. So we were recording sound with the Oakland County Fire Department, and they let us come into their training facility. And one of the places that we got a chance to record was called a flashover unit, and it's essentially an oven, but with people inside. And so they light one end of it on fire, and then the firefighters stand at the other end of the unit and then put out the blaze. It actually didn't touch the fire, but being too close to the fire, it just
being in like the sheer vicinity of the heat. Was that hot in there?
It was so hot. I only lasted 5 or 10 minutes, and I had all the gear. I had the oxygen mask and the coat and the gloves, and my hands were still burning. All right, so this is our microphone cabinet. I don't know how many mics we have, but I think it's close to 175 microphones.
Wow. All the different mics.
Different paintbrushes. So you would use a different microphone or different lens for a camera. You would use them much in the same way. So they all have different pickup patterns and different frequency responses.
Gotcha. And now, not to go away from the mics here, but is that a picture of you on the sticker here?
Yes, that is. That's I have a great partnership with Rode Microphones, and so when you buy their blimps and things, you get like little stickers with my face on it. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm a cartoon character now.
Okay, so Rick, last time I checked, you make sound. What are you using this thing for?
Well, this is how I make noise.
Okay.
I use sledgehammers when I'm recording like crash and impact sounds. So I need something to actually impact into the object that I want the sound from. So sledgehammers come in handy. I started using sledgehammers. My first use of a sledgehammer was in a library I did called Crash and Burn, and we had to create all these car crash sounds. So me and a buddy of mine went out to a junkyard to record all of those elements, because you'll smash doors and car windshields and all that kind of stuff, and you layer them together and make really cool crash sounds. So I got this junkyard to let me come in really early in the morning before anybody else was there, and they gave me permission. They literally said anything behind the fence was fair game. So me and my buddy sat there and we smashed cars for hours, man. I think we counted over 75 different cars that we just completely demolished. And we had a great time. And about a year later, I was working on another project and I needed to record at the junkyard again. So I called up the owner and I'm like, hey man, I'd like to come back and record again. Would you mind having us out? He says, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna let you out this time. And I'm like, geez, why? And he's like, well, it's not your fault, but the last time you were here, you destroyed the car that I was renovating for my daughter. And I was like, oh
no.
Because as soon as he said it, I was like, I know exactly what car you're talking about. Because I remember standing there with the noisemaker, and I'm like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this purple Trans Am. Jeez. And so I wasn't allowed back in. So now I have to make sure that everything is really fair game when I go to a junkyard.
Coming up after the break, our tour continues at the Detroit Chop Shop, and I sit down with the rock and roll professor of sound, Ric Viers, and ask him some important questions. When Visiting Professionals continues.
Come on. I know, 2 seconds. Hang on, just stand still. Stand still. One second. Just go, go, go. Boys, hang on, boys.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Welcome back to Visiting Professionals. Today, we're at the Detroit Chop Shop, where I'm visiting with legendary sound effects producer and designer, Ric Viers.
All right, so we're here at the Detroit Chop Shop in Michigan with sound effects producer Ric Viers. Ric, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Did you grow up here in Michigan?
Yeah, I grew up here in Detroit. I went away to school, and then when I came back, I began looking for work in the film industry.
Did you go to school for audio engineering?
No, not at all. Actually, my degree is in film production. So they did have a solid 3 months of my program were dedicated to sound, but the core focus was film production.
Okay. Now, what changed you from doing film production to mostly sound engineering? Or sound producing, I should say.
Well, I started, freelancing. And on the side, I was still making my own movies. And this kind of like, it was one of those things where I was editing my own films and my own little videos that I was putting together. And this was back in the day. This is not like today where you can just jump online and everything's at your fingertips. This was back in the day where you had to buy sound effect libraries that came in like boxes of just like CDs, and you had to go and rip each one of the CDs and find the track you were looking for. And at the beginning, those libraries were really expensive. So then I went to just the kind of stuff that you would find at a local store like Kmart. And I was buying those sound effect libraries, and it wasn't the quality that I was after, and it didn't have the sounds I was looking for. And since I was using microphones all the time at freelancing, I was like, yeah, I could probably just start recording my own sound effects. So I began doing that for about a year, and I'll never forget, it was one day I was cleaning out my hard drive, and I realized I had over 1,000 sound effects. And then I was like, oh wow, 1,000. I mean, that sounds like a big number. I bet you somebody would want to buy this stuff. So then I jumped on Yahoo, because Google wasn't around yet, and I searched for sound effects. And the first company that came up, I shot them a demo and said, look, I'm making sound effects. Would you guys be interested in buying this stuff? What I didn't tell them was I wasn't really interested in selling it. I just wanted to trade, because it's like the professional libraries were super expensive. And so my hope was, here's a bunch of sound effects. Maybe you can give me one of your like $1,500 products and we can call it a day. And the owner of the company called me back and he says, we've been dealing with guys in Hollywood for over 20 years that are making sound effects for us, and we think your stuff is cleaner and better produced than what they're making. Would you be interested in making sound effect libraries for us? And I was like, oh, they're offering me money. So I'm like, well, sure, but can I still get some free sound effects? I literally said that. I was like, yeah, but can I still have some free sound effects? And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll send you sound effects. Like, it was the afterthought.
Ric, did you have any mentors that helped further you along in your career as you went?
Living in Detroit, there weren't many sound effects guys. And when I say there weren't many, I mean there was none. Exactly, precisely zero. There were some really cool guys that I was freelancing with that were camera operators that used to do sound, and there were some really cool sound guys locally that would help me out. I'd ask them questions, hey, what do I do this, and how does this work, and all that kind of stuff. So those guys really were super cool and really helped me out at the beginning. The Hollywood guys, were a little challenging to reach because they're in Hollywood and the internet at the time was new, so not everybody was online. It was really challenging to get a hold of those guys. But I'll give you this, the guys that you could finally reach, I was amazed how cool these guys were. Like, there were no egos involved. You know, you could call up and talk to someone who was who worked on an Academy Award winning picture. They would just chat with you on the phone. But for the most part, it was just trial and error. I was figuring stuff out by myself because I had no one else to ask questions. So my first book, The Sound Effects Bible, is essentially a collection of, here's all the stuff I figured out by doing everything wrong and how I ended up figuring out to do it the right way.
So through trial and error, you finally got there.
Yeah, I made a ton of mistakes. And you know what? I still make mistakes. And I love making mistakes because that means I'm trying something different.
What was your first ever professional paid gig?
For doing what? For doing location sound?
Sound producing, yeah, or location sound.
When I first got started freelancing, my very first job was on a Saturday afternoon. I'll never forget it. It was like, there was this Ford corporate picnic thing, and they would just needed B-roll, maybe a couple of them, like, you know, interviews with people at the picnic. And so that was kind of like my first gig. But I took it as if I was working with Steven Spielberg. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my opportunity. This is my one chance to prove to these guys, all right, I know what I'm doing. So, you know, I showed up early, got all the gear working, had everything figured out. And when I was on the shoot, man, I was Johnny on the spot. I mean, the cameraman never had to look for me. I was always right next to the shooter. I was paying attention. When he couldn't see a shot because he was looking in the viewfinder, I'd point something out. And I was just really proactive in the production. And it made such an impression on the guy that he told the company that we were freelancing at the end of the day, he's like, you know, this Rick kid's got, you know, he's got a little bit of talent, you know, rough around the edges, but, you know, I think this kid, you know, could work well for us. And so that was Saturday. Monday, they called me up and I was working with the Red Wings for the entire week for ESPN doing a piece on Konstantinov, who was one of the players at the time. And I went from, I had no job on Monday, the end of the week on Saturday, I'm doing this, you know, freelance gig, and then the following Monday, I'm working with the Red Wings. I'm in the locker room, I'm on the ice, I'm in their houses, and we're doing stuff for ESPN. All because of the fact that I was like, it was an opportunity, let's see where it goes, and boom, just like that. And within 3 months, I was working with a bunch of companies like Good Morning America and like Inside Edition and Hard Copy and these television shows and video companies in the area that were producing stuff, corporate videos for like Ford and GM and all that stuff. So, like I said, I can work a room if I can just get my foot in the door.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was just getting ready to say. As long as you can get the foot in the door, then you can start running with it.
Do whatever it takes to get started, because you're never going to end up where you started. Everybody thinks, well, if I start here, I'm going to stay here. No, 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 no. That's just your path into the industry. But once you're in the industry, then you can kind of look around and see what you like and kind of see what you naturally gravitate toward. My life has never been about the pocketbook. It's not about the wallet. It's not about what you can put into it. It's kind of like, you know, what satisfies you here. Because the money will always follow. The opportunities will always follow. But if you're true to following your passion and your heart, you'll end up in the right place.
Gotcha. Now, we're this far into your career, you're established. What's a typical day like here for you at the Detroit Chop Shop?
Never the same day twice. And I love that. I love living the life where one day I might be writing a book. The other day I might be traveling to a convention. Another day I might be traveling to a university or a school to do a workshop. I might be doing an interview. Like today, I might be working on another sound effects library. I might be doing, getting ready for an internship program. I have a couple of websites that I have to run, soundeffects.com, and then my own personal website. And I've got teams that work on those that I have to coordinate with. And so there's like a lot of things to be done, but the reality is I would never want to do just one thing. I would never want to only be recording sound effects. I want to edit sound effects. I want to master sound effects. I want to create the products. I want to work on the artwork. I want to make videos about. So I want to do a lot of things. So I've been really fortunate in my life to kind of have a career where I get to do all that stuff.
So where has some of your work been featured? What are you most proud of?
You know, it's crazy because I never know where my stuff is going to end up until I'm watching the show or seeing the movie or playing the video game. So there's been a few surprises. I was playing Call of Duty once, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's my sound effect. I was playing up in Studio A, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my sound effect that I made in this room on this exact same computer that I'm playing this game. So, stuff ends up in places like, Lego Batman, Halo, Call of Duty, where else? Sons of Anarchy. Used my sound, a couple of my sounds in the show, some key moments in the show that was really cool. The Baby. Claire's baby in Lost is actually a baby sound that we made here. So it's just really cool to be in the middle of a show or be involved in a story, and then all of a sudden you hear one of your sound effects. You're like, oh my gosh, that's my stuff. That was kind of really cool.
Coming up, Ric Viers shows us the amazing sounds he can get just out of ordinary car keys. And the fun and comedy doesn't stop as we continue our tour.
Compressor? I just met her.
When Visiting Professionals continues.
Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to Visiting Professionals. Today, we're at the Detroit Chop Shop, where I'm visiting with legendary sound effects producer and designer, Ric Viers. Ric is giving me a tour of the place as he shares his knowledge about sound design.
So this is Studio D. This is where we do our voiceover recordings, as well as we do some video editing down here as well. So this is the voiceover booth. So this is where we do ADR, as well as voiceover recording. I've recorded some cool stuff in here. Recently, we've recorded stuff that ended up for a new product toy line for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
And the much more popular Paw Patrol.
So it is insanely quiet in here right now. Rick, tell me exactly where we're at.
We are in the Foley room. That's Studio D right there on the other side of the glass. This room is where we bring in props and objects to record. And I like to try to record things in this room because it's quiet versus recording them out in the field where it's noisy and you got traffic and all sorts of other things. In this room, we have smashed thousands of bottles. We've smashed thousands of pieces of fruit, watermelons, all that kind of stuff, vegetables. Just anything we can find to make sound.
So you can make sound out of anything?
Pretty much, yeah.
Prove it.
All right, what do you got? You got car keys?
I have a phone and yes, I do have car keys.
All right, watch this. All right, so we're gonna take your car keys and we're gonna try to make something cool out of it. One of the things that I always tell people, especially when they're first starting out, is don't worry about your gear. Well, use whatever equipment you have. So in this case, instead of using our expensive recorders, we're gonna use a simple handheld recorder. You know what the first rule of recording sound effects is?
I do not.
You wear your headphones. You have to hear what you're recording. Press record, and we're gonna take the car keys. We're just gonna shake them in front of the recorder here. Here we go. You wanna try something fun?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. This is the sound of somebody getting stabbed in the face with a key. Hold perfectly still. These are sound effect and music production libraries. This is not all of my work, but you can see a lot of my work here on the top. Some of the ones that I'm most proud of are the recent epic libraries that we've been doing. So we've got Zombie Apocalypse, which is obviously zombie sound effects. Heroes and Villains, which is pretty cool. So you got heroes on this side, and then villains on the other.
Okay.
And these are comic book sound effects. And then Haunted Effects, which is my 666th sound effects library. So we released it on Halloween, comes with 666 sounds. Growing up as a kid, I always wanted to make a Halloween CD. Because if you think about it, all the holidays that we have, there's only one holiday that has a sound effects CD that you can purchase for that holiday. And so I've always wanted to make the ultimate Halloween CD. So hopefully this is the ultimate Halloween collection. And this is Studio B. This is an edit and design suite where we use to create sound effects.
Is that one that you got hanging right there on the desktop?
Would you like to hear it?
I do, I got it.
All
Yeah,
right.
I do.
You might want to stand back. This is an explosion with some debris.
Wow, no way.
Way. And all of the debris, everything you hear after the initial explosion, we recorded in Foley. So all of the rock, all the wood, all the glass, all of that stuff moving around. I like to record things in Foley because it's clean and it's quiet, and I can separate each one of the elements and then put them all together later. So even though what you heard sounded like one sound effect, it was actually probably dozens of sound effects that I layered together to make it just the way I wanted. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you really ready?
I'm really ready.
This is Studio A.
Studio A?
This is my playroom.
Your playroom?
Yes.
This is where the magic happens?
This is where the magic happens. So this is Studio A. This is where I spend the bulk of my life. I've edited literally millions of sounds in this room.
I didn't think I was ready to come in here. I wasn't prepared.
I usually kneel when I walk into the room, just kind of out of respect. It's like my dojo.
Yeah, pay your dues.
Yes, pay my respects to the gods of sound. But yeah, this is where I design and master all of my sound effects.
Sweet, can we see what we put together from earlier?
I have it with me right now.
Yeah, let's get to work.
All right, you ready, man?
I'm ready.
All right, so here is the recording of your keys. We can just grab this little piece right here. So I'm going to copy this and paste it into a new window. So now only that one little sound is heard. Now I'm going to play with it. First thing I do when I'm working on sound is I trim the beginnings and the ends. I only want the sound. I don't want any of the background noise or any kind of artifacts or things like that in the sound. All right, so these are low frequencies right here. And these are high frequencies, and then these are mid frequencies. Well, we're dealing with keys, so it should be nice and high pitched, right? But we're hearing a lot of bottom end, this stuff. So we're going to EQ that. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to get rid of all that stuff. So it should clean it up a little bit. So if you look now, see the low end is now gone, and it sounds a little cleaner. So here's some fun stuff you can do. So we can take like this little click. You hear a little click?
Yeah.
Let's just take that one little piece of the sound, and I'm going to paste it into a new window, and I'm going to do that again like 1,000 times. So I'm literally just going to hold down the paste key, and then just like paste a million. So what do we got here? We've got a minute's worth. That is your car keys. One of the things that we can do is we can pitch it up in frequency. That's kind of neat. I think this one, that almost sounds like a fluorescent light flickering. I could go in and add little flickers and all that kind of stuff. Or I can pitch it down. And you hear that little clanking sound. But it's going to be more interesting if we add some reverb. And I'm just going to use a default one here. And then I'm going to reverse it. And then I'm going to add the reverb again. So if we take this and then just slow it down, make it sound like you're on board a spaceship or something crazy like that.
That is ridiculous. Spaceship car keys, I had never even thought that we'd take that and even make it nearly into something like that.
You know, NASA spends billions of dollars on research. I use car keys.
Coming up after the break, sound effects producer Ric Viers shares his advice to future sound designers. And our interview concludes when Visiting Professionals continues.
Really? Buzz, what's up, man? You left some leaves burning out here.
Yeah, I just came in just for a second.
Come on, man. If it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave. You could torch the whole neighborhood.
It's a good point there, Smokey.
9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Visiting Professionals. Today we're at the Detroit Chop Shop visiting sound effects producer extraordinaire, Ric Viers.
Rick, what's one thing that you didn't expect when you first got into sound producing?
When you first start the industry, especially this industry is so unique to other industries because people want to be a part of this industry. Like nobody grows up and says, I want to be a plumber. I'm willing to plumb your house for free just for credit, But this industry, man, it's full of fans. It's people that love the business. And so the glitz and the glamour wear off. But at the same time, you have your moments where you're like, I can't believe I just got to work on this project. I can't believe I just got to meet this person, or I can't believe I just got to talk to that person. So you have your moments, but there's definitely a dip where it's like, hey, I'm in the industry, and then it's like, I got to work next Tuesday, and then it kind of, shifts gear a little bit. But I'm still having fun, man. I'm still enjoying every moment of this.
Speaking of those big moments, what would you say has been the highlight of your career so far?
I would have to say is being inducted into the Full Sail Hall of Fame. That was a huge honor, and that was a huge moment in my life.
What advice would you give to a student that's in school right now that maybe wants to pursue a career that's in your field?
School is like a gym. You get out of school exactly what you put into it. You can have a gym membership, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get stronger or that you're going to lose weight. I was the kid that was like, I'd bug my teachers, hey, nobody's using this piece of gear. Can I borrow it tonight? Or hey, can I borrow the studio? Can I come in the studio? I would go in the studio at like sometimes 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning because no one was using it. Great, can I use it then? You get out of it what you put into it.
How important would you say it is to be skilled in all aspects of sound production?
My advice to students is just because you've graduated from school doesn't mean you've stopped learning. You will never stop learning, and you need to actively pursue the information because no one's going to hand it to you. No one's going to tell you there's going to be a test. It's only going to be up to you to decide whether or not you're going to go look for that information. So you got to stay ahead of the curve. Go to the conventions, go to workshops. If your school's holding, lectures by, with special guests, even though you're graduated, go back and watch the lecture. You're going to learn new stuff.
Rick, I hear that you have an internship program with your company, Detroit Chop Shop. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
We offer internships programs mainly because when I first got started, it was really hard to learn this industry. And so I was like, man, it would be really cool to have interned and been a part of something like that and learned and worked with a mentor to help me in my career. I was really taken back by how many people were using interns and kind of abusing the role of having an intern. And I said to myself, you know what? I want to create the coolest internship program on the planet. Like, I want to create the internship program that I wish I could have been a part of. And so I started from square one. I said, we're going to make a reality show out of this. We'll do a YouTube show, and we'll document all the adventures that we go on with the interns. That way we can play, we can have fun, we can have a good time, they can learn, and it's just kind of like everybody wins kind of scenario.
Rick, what are you looking for in an intern?
I'm looking for someone with passion. I'm looking for someone who, if they won the lottery and won $1 billion, they would still want to come and intern. I'm looking for that person that says, this is what I really want to do. What I'm not looking for are know-it-alls. I'm not looking for people that are going to try to come in and impress me with all the stuff they know and all the latest blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for someone who I can teach. John Rick, we called him Skittles, but he is a graduate from Oakland University, and his application video got him the internship. Not because of the fact that he did a 60-second rap video and wrote this really cool music to it and all that stuff. It was actually, there was one line in his rap that got him the internship, and he said this: "I'm not no know-it-all, but I really want to go and know it all."
Rick, last question before we wrap everything up here: is this the best job in the world?
Yes, absolutely. But it's not really a job. It's a hobby. It's a lifestyle. It's just, I'm privileged to be able to do what I want to do and be able to earn a living doing that. So I love it. I'm loving every minute of it.
It's great to do the things you love. You're not really working for a career, you're living a career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I don't go to work. I get to play.
You get to play at work. You get paid to play.
It's a big difference, yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Visiting Professionals. I'd like to give a special thanks to Ric Viers and the Detroit Chop Shop. I'm Austin Slabough, signing off.